First of all, I got a confession to make before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this video review. I gotta tell you, I have a problem. Yes, some of you might have guessed it. I'm addicted to gear, and you know, I tried to stay away. I haven't posted videos for a while because I was trying hard not to buy more stuff, but I fell off the wagon. I'm ashamed of it. I really am. But I figured, you know what? You have to admit to the issues that you're dealing with, and that's the only way to overcome them, right? So I figured, you know, we're all friends here. I can trust you guys. I know nobody's watching these videos except for a few people. And I want you to know that, you know, look, I feel guilty about it, but you know, I figured at least if I can share the information with you guys, I can turn a bad into a good. So here I am today, and this is the culprit this time. It's a G&L ASAT Deluxe Telecaster. And you know, I love Telecasters, I have to say. I have a couple of them, and they're great guitars. A lot of people don't appreciate them, but they could really give you a lot of tonal range. I've said it many times. They kind of fit between I think a Les Paul and a Stratocaster is where they sit tonally. And I have a couple of them, but after a while, you know what? You look for a little bit more. Telecasters are great, but typically after a while the single coils are good, but you want a little bit more variation, a little bit more range. And so I was eyeing a Telecaster with humbuckers. I was trying to find one that had the features that I wanted, because I didn't want it to be like a vintage type Telecasters, a Telecaster with humbuckers in there. I wanted to have some modern appointments, and I was having a hard time finding something that I liked that had all the features that I liked. And I was considering seriously building it on my own, just buying the parts, buying the body, the neck, and all the hardware, and putting it together. But I figured that would cost me quite a bit of dough. So I said to myself, let's take a look and see what's out there already. Maybe I can find something. And I did find a lot of like boutique type guitars that kind of had the features that I was looking for, but I didn't want to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for these guitars. I wanted something a little bit more reasonable. So I happened to stumble across this G&L ASAT, and it's pronounced ASAT, not ASAT. There's a lot of people that I've heard mispronouncing it, and it's definitely not the same thing, right? So it's not an ASAT, it's an ASAT. So basically what I did is I saw this guitar, and I said to myself, whoa, wait a second, this is interesting. There's a lot of cool features on this. Let me have a look at it. And I just started watching some reviews. I checked one out locally that I happened to find, and what I found on eBay really knocked my socks off in terms of pricing, because these guitars new cost about $600, and on eBay I found one for about $300, including a hard shell molded PVC case. And just the case alone would cost normally about $125 maybe. So I basically got the guitar and a case for $300. I think I ended up on top with that deal. And let's talk about what makes this guitar so special. Number one, the body. The finish of the body is a transparent tint, so that you can actually see that there's a top there that has flame maple on it, and it's I'm pretty sure it's a veneer. I don't know how thick it would be, if it's just a paper veneer, like a very thin veneer, or a thicker one. I don't know, I would have to look at the details, but I'm thinking it's just a regular thin veneer. The back of the guitar is mahogany, which is associated many times with, you know, Gibson guitars. So you're gonna have maybe a fuller, darker tone as opposed to a lighter type wood might be. The guitar is not extremely heavy though. You know, it's because the thickness of it is way thinner than a Gibson Les Paul. So you don't have a heavy guitar. It's balanced quite nicely in the middle. It's a little bit heavier on the body side, but it's not neck heavy or anything like that. It's pretty nicely balanced. So the reason I bought this guitar was primarily because of the pickups, because I like to have a little bit more variation, and I wanted a guitar that was Telecaster style but had pickups on it that were not single coils. So the humbuckers on these guitars are quite nice. They're not boutique pickups, obviously. They're, you know, the pickups that come with the guitar when you buy it. I haven't swapped them out. But the pickups that I really like nowadays are my 57 Classics, and I have one in a Gibson guitar, my Gibson hollow body. And I really like those pickups because they tend to have just enough breakup. They have the ability to overdrive nicely, just the right amount of like sag to them, but they can still clean up quite a bit. And I was hoping that the pickups that would come in this guitar would sound similar to that. They're not exactly the same, but they're kind of in the ballpark, and I actually see some similarities there. The neck pickup is a little bit borderline in terms of, you know, does it stay or does it go? I like them both. I think they work well together, but I tend to like neck pickups that are a little bit more clear and less muddy. There's not a whole lot of mud, but there's just maybe a touch, a smidge more than I would like. But I'm on the fence about it because, you know, sometimes depending on the equipment I play through, it doesn't seem so evident. So I'm going to play around with it a little bit more before I finally decide what I do with the pickups. But I'm not guaranteeing that I don't swap them out. I always like to tweak, and eventually I might pop something else in there. But for now, I think they're staying. The cool thing about the pickups is they're on a push-pull pot here. So the tone knob doubles as a push-pull, which splits the coil into single coils, so the bridge and the neck pickups can have a single coil configuration to them. So you have the humbucker tone and the single coil tone. Now, the single coil tone is not going to be a typical Telecaster because it's still a humbucker that's being split, but it does give you the ability to have a more of a range tonally, which is great, and I think it comes in handy. And if you don't like it, no big deal, just don't pop up the tone knob and you have straight humbuckers. The only thing you have to remember though is if you do want to change a pickup in here and you do want to keep the split coil wiring, you have to go with a 4-wire pickup, otherwise you won't be able to use the split coil feature. So if you plan on taking that out, then you can put whatever you want in there, but if you do want to maintain the split coil functionality, you have to go with a 4-wire pickup. The pots and switches are so-so. I'm going to be totally honest with you. A lot of times Indonesian guitars are, you know, that's where they cut corners a little bit. The switch is kind of not the best. It's not a CTS switch or Switchcraft, or so you might want to change that out and put something a little bit better quality. I'm probably going to do that eventually, not for the time being. I mean, it works for now, but eventually I will. And I'm being honest, the tuners as well. The tuners are like so-so, average tuners. They're OEMs, you know, budget tuners. There's no locking mechanism on them at all. So I think lately what I've been doing is I've been swapping out the tuners on my guitars, and I've been putting in locking tuners. I like them because they add more mass and they really save you a lot of time when you're, you know, restringing your strings instead of having to wrap around the shaft of the tuner a gazillion times. You can just go through it once, tighten the lock and clip it, and you're done. So it makes changing strings a lot easier. I really like that fact. So let's look at the bridge. The bridge on the guitar also really cool. Why? Because it's a massive bridge made of a solid block of metal. It's not thin that you like the bridges you normally find on Telecasters. So it adds a lot of mass. It's solid. It's made of really well machined metal. There's no rough spots. It's very smooth to touch, very comfortable to play. The bridge is a hardtail. It doesn't go through the body. There's no holes in the back like a typical Telecaster would have. It's hardtail, so it goes through the back of the bridge, and that's how you string it up. And the bridge also has two other cool features actually. One is it has posts that go deep into the body and basically anchor the bridge to the body, and it adds a lot of sustain. And the second thing is it has a little Allen key on the side here, which you can tighten up, and basically it squeezes the bridge saddles together so they don't rattle, and they basically resonate as a whole piece. And that's something really cool. Leo Fender probably came up with that while he was tinkering in his office and came up with a cool idea to implement on these guitars. And he did really make the guitars better. When G&L came out, he really did want to take the original designs that he had and bring them a step further. And I think he really managed to do that. And we can see some of them here. Now the neck of the guitar is interesting because it's a 12-inch radius on the neck, and a lot of times you won't see that. You'll see 9-inch, 10-inch, you know, but when you go to the flatter necks, you usually see them on sort of shredder guitars, you know. You don't typically associate that with a Telecaster. So it's interesting to have that. I really like the fact that it has a, you know, a very gradual curve to it, because you can actually play quite nicely on it, and the frets are wide frets, so that it's really fun to play, easy to bend. You can get the action quite low on it, and it's quite comfortable. So, and those were all the features I was actually looking for. So the neck is rosewood. The back of the neck is not satin. There's a gloss, but it's not a high gloss. It's not like a thick poly, so it's pretty comfortable. Some people will take, you know, steel wool and just sand it down and make it a little bit more comfortable, which is an interesting thing to do if you want that type of feel. The other thing that's cool also about the guitar is that there's a tummy tuck in there. So a lot of Telecasters typically don't have that. Now they're starting to be introduced in a lot of these guitars. There's a lot of guitar manufacturers that are doing that now. They're giving you the tummy tuck. They'll also give you a little bit of a chamfer on the heel of the neck joint to make it more comfortable to play. Kind of like the Deluxe Stratocasters and some of the Telecasters. This one doesn't have a carved heel on the neck, but it does have the tummy tuck, which is cool. The input jack is on the bottom here. It's a standard input jack, and the headstock is painted black, which gives it a modern look. And besides that, I mean, besides saying Indonesia in the back, I think it's one hell of a guitar. I think it's a great buy. I think it sounds fantastic. So if you come across one of these in your local shop, definitely give it a spin. If you find one used for the amount of money I paid for it, it's a no-brainer. Just grab it and run, start the car, and get the hell out of there before they realize what they've done. So thanks once again for watching my videos. I really appreciate all the feedback you guys are giving me. If you guys feel that there's something in particular you'd like me to review, let me know. If I can do it, I definitely will. In the meantime, go outside, put the guitar down, go outside, get some sun, turn off the computer, and there's people out there. So go outside and mingle, socialize. And I'll see you soon. Don't forget to subscribe.